Academy episode number 8.
The QC person, and we usually have one person dedicated to it, although we sometimes will have an advisor do it on a big job, goes through on that car from stem to stern. He's not just looking for the obvious things like grease on the door handles, but he's looking to make sure all the fluids are filled. He's looking to make sure that the seats are back where they were, the radios, not on some crazy station and turned up loud. And most importantly, the reason a person brought the car in is resolve.
Welcome, automotive aftermarketers, to a Remarkable Results Radio Town Hall Academy. Listen to learn just one thing from today's episode on your journey to remarkable results.
Hey there, aftermarketers, to the matching audio podcast of the Town Hall Academy video on Concierge Service, the next frontier, a highly watched episode. And this is Carm Capriato, your host. As you know, the Academy is about taking a single topic each week with an industry panel, and we broadcast it live Fridays at 12 noon Eastern on my webinar platform and on Facebook. You can learn all about connecting at this URL, remarkableresults.biz/townhall. Hey, see the show notes for this Town Hall Academy at remarkableresults.biz/A008. Yes, episode 8 of the Academy. And there you'll find bios on my guests. I understand that not everyone has the time to sit in front of a video screen or to be on Facebook, and that's the power of podcasting, the digital audio broadcast that's so portable and easy to find. Every Academy session is on my website's learning page, and now you have the additional resource of having the Town Hall as a podcast. Yes, listen on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Spreaker, and more. And if you have my iOS or Android app, you'll find the Academy episodes there also. Now, I guarantee real powerful learning nuggets in each episode. See, your peers put on this tutoring, and they share their ideas, best practices, and passion for what works for them and where they've had their own successes and challenges. Mostly, we're here to spread wisdom and experience for the entire automotive aftermarket. Hey, thanks for being here, and by your support, you keep the wheels churning for both you and me. Now listen to a great episode on customer service we call Concierge Service. Is it the next frontier? We have shop owner Dave Kusa from Auto Trend Diagnostics in Campbell, California, who's also the current president of ASCCA. Bruce Howes, shop owner of Atlantic Motor Car Center in Wiscasset, Maine. And Jeremy O'Neill, shop owner and president and lead sales trainer for Advisor Fix. Now here we go. This whole idea about concierge service bubbled up to my mind, and I know there's a lot of it going on. I have a great friend in Florida, and his wife works for a doctor that has concierge service. And when I was visiting him a few years ago, we were talking about stuff, and she goes, yeah, you know those northern snowbirds that come down here? They pay the doctor to have exclusive connection, and we call it concierge service. That's important to know, that high level. So, and I can't remember who I was chatting with. We were talking about, so what is concierge service and how does it have a reflection, or how does it fit into the automotive service industry? And so I've got all these crazy thoughts going through my mind. Is it positive differentiation? How does it work? It's unique to every company. So I want to really toss out to all three of my guests, what is concierge service?
On the surface, for me, it's the having some coffee and soft drinks in the lobby. The pickup and delivery of the shuttle. A lot of guys have the loaner car program. We work with Uber and Lyft in our area because it's so popular. Those kinds of things are on the surface of it, the appearance of it. And I think that having those services is extremely important because it's another point of differentiation from everybody else. So, we're coming into a group of people that, the so-called millennials that everybody has their preconceptions about. And I think where that concierge service comes is what the 20s and 30 somethings are looking at. It's not like the old days where you opened the phone book and made the phone call and then you had to, wow somebody on the phone. They better already be wowed when that phone's ringing because they've looked you up on internet, your website, your Facebook, any of these sources that are out there, Yelp, AAA, so on and so forth. So they're already pretty familiar with what the expectation is. So if you're promoting that concierge level type service in all of those avenues of marketing and advertisement, you better come through when the phone rings because eventually or they show up at your front counter. It better be what you're presenting. It's that, again, that next level of service. And I think, we give the the millennial generation a little bit of a bad rap in the respect. So I have a 23 and 25-year-old daughter, right? So I have lots of millennial friends. The whole texting, social media, that's their form of conversation and their form of socialization up until they actually socialize face to face. They do want that at some point in that process. That relationship that in Bruce's bio, I think that's huge, and my thought of the small town service, the family owned business in the whole metropolis, you better come through with that level of service when the time comes.
I love your point, Dave. That whole family small business, there's a lot of big businesses that are run by, incredibly small, tight, high culture families and teams. And man, if you can get that Disney style thing going there, and Bruce, I'm sure that's what you're going to tell us you're doing, because I've got a piece that Bruce sent me, 3 or 4 pages of exactly what he calls it. You got to listen to what Bruce is going to say right now.
So for us, concierge service, or we call it valet service, is really meeting the needs of what that customer needs, meeting their needs, meeting their expectations. I live in a small community, about 5,000 people, but my customers are kind of the opposite of what Dave has. We don't have a lot of millennials per se as customers, and that's not because we don't want them, but where I am, I'm on the coast of Maine. It's kind of an affluent area for retirees. So we have a lot of folks that are in their 50s through their 80s that are customers. And I view myself as not really fixing cars as much as providing a transportation solution. So that might be a loaner car. And I think we have 12 or 13 loaner cars. That might be pickup and delivery, what we call our valet service. Anything I can do to make that easy for that customer to come in. Somebody who is older, maybe new to the area, doesn't have those connections maybe to get a ride. We certainly don't have a Uber here. We don't have Lyft here. I wish we did. We barely have 1 or 2 taxi services that go up and down the coast. So for us, people drive half an hour, 45 minutes, an hour to get to work, and likewise to get to the auto dealer. So we have 1 BMW dealer in the entire state, really 2 Mercedes dealers, but the only one that's remarkably close to me is an hour and 20 minutes away. So we just don't have that around. So I have to provide a solution for those folks. And for us, it's whatever it takes, whether it's pick up and delivery at the office, whether it's pick up and delivery at the home, whether it's a loaner car, whether it's a shuttle. We tend not to do shuttles a lot because people live a distance away. So I listen to the customers, and what they try to tell us, we try to incorporate, and that's where our ideas come from.
Thanks so much, Bruce. I read a great quote from Bill Gates. It says, your most unhappy customers are your greatest source of learning. And there's such a big thing about listening to your customers. The discussion of customer service differentiation, valet service, I think of a white glove thing. Bruce, do you differentiate your customer based on the level that you give concierge and the loaners, based on the kind of repair, the cost of the repair, the value of the customer?
That's a great question. So we try to treat every customer the same, because any customer can be cultivated to become that, A-list customer, if you will, right? So somebody who is just coming in for, an oil service, I'm going to give them the same level of service as I would for somebody who's coming in to spend, $2,000 or $3,000 on some major maintenance on their vehicle. So everybody gets the same treatment, no matter who they are.
So you're 100% in when it comes to every customer that you have. Your level of service is a concierge. You don't have to buy in. You don't have to be special. You get it.
That's my goal. And those people, they obviously were all here for referrals, and those people refer people to us. And one of the ways I differentiate myself from the dealer, the new car deal, a lot of times they'll have cars, loaner cars, but they're rental cars. We just don't charge for that. I don't care if you're there for an oil service. I'm gonna wow you with that experience, so you'll want to come back. We use the dental analogy with a lot of our customers. It's like going to the dentist. And I think because people can generally relate to that. So that whole relationship thing, come and see me on a regular basis for maintenance, the whole preventative rather than the corrective form of maintenance. And anything I can do to make it easy for people, that's what I want to do.
So do you book the next appointment before they leave?
We try to do that, and we're getting better at that. I'll tell you, I live in Maine, which is probably the other side of the culture warp from Dave. We're just getting people that are starting to use text messaging, right? And so when I opened in 2003, we had people that didn't have answering machines. We had people that didn't have cell phones. Now it's starting to shift. I'm starting to see people don't have home phones. People are they're acceptable to email. People are starting to say, hey, could you text me that? But we're trying to do that with people. But it's something I would say we haven't perfected yet.
Mayberry.
Yeah.
Yeah, think of Mayberry. It's a great area to live. I mean, I lived in Buffalo, and I love Buffalo, but I sold my business when I was 36 to come here so I could sail and do all the other stuff. And one of the things that led me here was it's a charming small town area. I love it. So, we'll never have a 14-bay shop, but we do well with the space we have. And, I think we employ 13 people, and we do well with the space we have and what we do. And I'm happy with that. And so my goal is just, how can I kind of, as the industry develops, as people's expectations develop, how can I kind of have Atlantic Motor Car follow along to have that relationship with the customer in the car? And that's really what we're after is both of those.
Excellent. Jeremy, you've been awfully quiet. No, I'm only kidding.
I'm trying to adapt my behavior to not be so strong and dominate a conversation. So listening skills this week are on my top of my goal list. I'm actually sitting back listening. Man, great comments, Bruce. I love, the comments there. You're doing a great job. I love the material that Carm showed there, and Dave as well. Amazing stuff, especially with, you look at the millennial generation, it's very, very different. So, it's interesting when I looked at the talking points here, I've got a very well-rounded background with, multi-million-dollar dealerships who have putting greens and, Starbucks franchises and nail salons in the waiting room, as well as the, independent repair shop. And I think one of the messages I'd love to get across to everybody in our industry is this: true concierge service is not a company policy. It has to come down to a code of conduct that each person within your organization adopts. And true concierge service is this: it's anticipating the needs of your clients before they have to ask for it.
Excellent.
So if your customer has to ask for it, you don't have a great culture in place. You don't have the right concierge mindset or that code of conduct within your company. So my guys at our shop here, they've got a open door policy and an open checkbook that we make it easy for customers to say yes. Okay, so what does it mean? And I love what Dave said earlier is, just what Ford's doing right now. Ford's no longer a car company. They are a transportation solution. That's what we are. And so many times we get focused on fixing cars that we forget to fix the patient. And it's interesting when you look at service advisor training, and the service advisor is the main point of contact for the customer, and their performance will really determine whether the shop gets a 5-star review or a 1-star review. And the challenge is this: I see a lot of service advisors that are so feature driven that they're worried about the sale, they're worried about the nuts and bolts of the repair order, that they forget to ask the customer the right question at the right time. Meaning, Carm, if you need your car back at 4:00 today, we close at 6. In my mind, I think I've got a buffer. I just have to call Carm and buy a little bit more time. But the question I didn't ask you up front, which you talk about this code of conduct, is this: why is it important for you to have your car back at 4:00? Oh, well, this afternoon's date night for me and my wife. It's the one time a week that we get to go see a movie. We have a movie at 5:00. I need to pick my car up at 4. We're going to go grab a quick bite to eat and see the movie at 5. Do you want to be the person that messes that up? No. So, loaner car, rental car, Uber, all that stuff. If that's what your client has planned for their day and their life, and you didn't ask the right question at the right time to live your code of conduct, which is exceeding the client's expectations, I don't care what type of feature-rich concierge service you have. It goes way deeper than the surface features that you build within this. It's a cultural thing.
I'm so happy you said what you did. Having been in the distribution business my whole life and having gotten up in front of many people that provide the parts to you guys, I always said that there's this domino theory of life. If you don't get the part there on time based on a promised time, you're really screwed up a lot of lives, and the dominoes start to fall. And it's really not, ultimately the shop will vote with their money. You may not get the call for the next 3 days because they're so upset at you, but really you affected an awful lot of people's lives. So this whole distribution system working seamlessly and on time, if you will, and under budget is so important to making it work. I love this opening. Thank you all so much. And it seems to me that Concierge just has to be the new standard. And that's what I'm hearing. This is what Bruce is doing. Jeremy, that's what you're talking about. Let's just not have customer service. Let's call it concierge, and then maybe we push ourselves to a level we've never known before. Now let's go out and get some customer service training, and let's really put our commitment in front of the words that we say. And when I think about this change in differentiation in customer service, I keep thinking about the customers are really, Jeremy, and I think you may have knocked it out of the park, they're asking for a higher level of convenience because our phones and our lives has made us so time-bound in everything we do. We're always doing something in the last minute.
It's not so much the last minute, Carm. It's the instant on-demand Amazon, what Amazon has done to us. It's the one-click buy. It's you want it, tomorrow's too slow. I want it today. And that's our society. I want what I want when I want it. Kit Yarrow wrote a great book, Decoding the New Consumer Mind. You know, I tease in class about what is IWW, IWW, IWI. It's I want when I want when I want it. But now the second part of that is, and if you can't give it to me, I'll find somebody who can. And the sad part about this is we have this huge split in the automotive repair industry right now, and we're seeing it. There's a race to the bottom on pricing. My local shops that try to be the cheapest in town, and they're racing to the bottom to get these customers. They will not be able to provide the level of service that we can provide. They will go out of business. You can't race to the bottom. You've got to charge fair pricing for your business and for the consumer as well. But then you've got to be able to anticipate what the customers wants and make it easy for them to say yes to you and deliver it on a silver platter.
Can heightened level of customer service create a more loyal customer?
I think so. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And building on what Jeremy said and a little bit on Bruce's comments, the Amazon comparison is great. And I think amongst a lot of people, there's a preconception with when you shop on Amazon that it's the cheapest price, right? And clearly that's not the case. And I think that more people are becoming aware of that. Usually the driving force Amazon is the convenience, right? I want when I want it and I want it now, right? So we have to get away from that thought that there's an industry that you have to be the cheapest, because I don't think anybody that's, none of our panelists today, I don't think anybody that's taking the time to be on the call today or on the podcast today is going to be the cheapest people in town, right? The cheapest people in town don't have time to do this. So they want
the idea of the one-stop shopping thing. I go to Amazon. We shop for the business and myself on Amazon because it's convenient. I know I can go there and find everything I need. And I think the same has to run into our businesses. And I like what Jeremy, I just want to go back to, I like what Jeremy said about code of conduct. And I think that's, I appreciate that. And that's a cultural thing. And having that throughout your business is very meaningful. But that whole idea of being a one call provider of whatever the customer's problem is. Jeremy, you said transportation solution. That's kind of our philosophy too, is I just want them to call me. If they've got a broken window glass, I'm either going to get that taken care of for them. If it's a question about something related, I would say the less time I talk to customers about their cars, the better the relationship is. And I mean that this way, that they've given all that trust over to us. They don't really need to come in and ask, are you putting this type of part on and what's your cost? When they can come in and just be totally relaxed and say, yeah, that's fine, and then tell me about their vacation, that's great. And to get to that level, you have to really make yourself the one call solution. Whether it's, I got a problem with my car. I got in Maine, people hit moose. I hit a moose with my car. And what do I do? And I'll say, this is a body shop we deal with. If you want to drop it off, I'll take it over for you. Any of that stuff, just so people can think of calling me, just me only. It's kind of the Amazon thing. That's the goal. That's our goal. If we can get people to have that top of mind presence.
Bruce, when your customer comes into your place, are you looking to give them that Mercedes dealer experience so that they just don't have to go there?
I'm looking to meet their needs. So when everybody's needs are different, and I'll just, not to get too far off, but I don't know if everybody wants that. I think people want the feeling that they're important, they're heard, and their needs are understood. Jeremy did a good job articulating that. We were considering adding onto our building last year, and one of the builders took me on a tour of the dealership building they built for BMW in Portland, and it was an $11 million building. And I went through that building, and there was I think he told me it was a $5,000 little fountain to fill your bike water bottle. And I saw that and I thought, people are going to go through there and go, somebody's paying for this. Who's paying for this? Not that we're focused on price, but I think that whole Mercedes experience, that gold-plated faucet thing, I'm not sure that's what people want. I think they want I know you, I trust you, and I know you're going to do the right thing for me. I think that's more important than having the marble tiled floors and all that.
You don't seem like the kind of guy that would have marble and gold in their bathroom, but you seem like the kind of guy that would have a super clean, really nice facility so that the customer can feel comfortable watching, drinking, and using the facility.
Absolutely. I mean, if you on our opening page on our website, it's a picture of our workshop. Epoxy floors, blue. It's just clean, and that says, and the offices are that way too. And that just says a level of competence. There's a level of being ostentatious, and which in Maine people are not that way. And there's a level of saying, hey, I've got a neat, clean facility, and that by implication means that we're going to treat your car in that regard.
I love the clean facility. one of the things that drives me crazy when we took the shop over, literally, we bought one of the worst shops in America. It took me 3 days with a pressure washer to clean this thing out. And for me, it's, if you spill oil or coolant, clean it up. Customers do not want your footprints, your fingerprints. The shop is a dirty environment, but there's no reason we can't have a clean environment. And that is huge. I think we focus on loaner cars and all these things, but Bruce, that's a great point, man. High five right there. That is a great insight for everybody to take away. That cleanliness is key. And talk to, if you want to be female friendly, walk your lot, walk your shop from the eyes of that perspective. Because, look, we're men. We get calloused to certain things that we accept in our lives as far as cleanliness. But that's a huge point. I would put that at the top of any checklist for concierge service, is the cleanliness of not only the facility, but your day-to-day operations. Absolutely. Great point, Bruce.
And not just for customers too, but also for employee morale, right? I heard you speak to employee morale and code of conduct, and
both Jeremy and Bruce are right there. And I think we do spend a lot of time concentrating on the features of our businesses and our shops and our services. And I think that the cleanliness, right, in my mind, that's a bottom line expectation of any customer. Nobody wants to walk in. Nobody wants to work in some place where you're hip deep in last week's grease and oil. So, we clearly need to do it and should do it and are doing it. But in the customer's mind, right, it goes back to we use quality parts. Well, duh. Right. Of course you do. Right. That's a minimum expectation. So, having a clean, orderly facility, it doesn't have to be gold plated. Clean, orderly facility is an expectation everybody, I think, has as they walk in the door, because you were talking about the whole dealership experience. And I think they're taking that features part of it to that extreme level, but not necessarily building on the benefit part of the relationship, right? People want to do business with people they like and have a relationship with. And too many dealers, in my mind anyway, at least in our area, I hear it from my customers all the time that, end up with me that, I don't like going to the dealer because it's a different person every time. Or every time I talk to somebody, it's a different person. They like to call and either talk to my service advisor, or they talk to me. They know me when they show up. They see the same person. It's just that relationship that goes on. And the same thing with we talk about vacation. We talk about the kids. How's the dog? Oh, I heard your mom had surgery. How's she doing? Right? And we've got to be the cultural opposite of Bruce's area, because we're so densely populated. But people still want the same thing, right? People are people across the country.
Now, I've got this great idea. I kind of almost threw all my talking notes away, and I've got this. I'm going to do this shift and see how good you guys are. Because what you've all been saying is, I've been picking up bits and pieces and, pretty much saying, hey, listen, customer service today done to the nines, let's call it concierge. Let's call it the best we could possibly give. So let's put on a clinic right now. For everyone listening and for everyone who's going to listen or watch this in the future, what are the key tactics to a positive solution? And let me just start out at the top of the list, Bruce, and something you mentioned earlier. I'm going to write down loaner car. Now, we could go even deeper, but let me start, and I'm going to sit and I'm going to take notes.
Loaner cars, clean, reliable. Obviously, it's kind of a given. I mean, Dave said these are kind of minimum thresholds, and I think that's kind of a minimum threshold. Clean, reliable. I like to try to have them be the same car line that my customers drive. So if the fellow comes in with a Mercedes, I don't necessarily want to give him not to denigrate a Honda, but I don't want to give him a Honda. I'll give him a Volvo or something like that. And loaner cars are also a good testimony in terms of maintenance, because we use those as a tool for longevity. You may hop in one of my loaners and it may have, one of them had 380,000 miles on it. Look good, ran good. People would come back in and go, does that car really have 380,000 miles? And it would open up an opportunity for you to talk about maintenance and the value of maintenance. And we have calculated what it costs us to run each of those cars per month. And we've calculated it's actually less costly for us to maintain them than it is to go out and buy new cars. So clean, available, easy to give out to people. We have a policy on when we give loaners, but we're also flexible on that policy. Jeremy made a good point about, hey, why does this person need this? It's important to understand that. Maybe they're just there for an oil service, but they want to run down and get breakfast with a friend. Take a loaner car. If I can do it, if I can make it happen, I can make your life easier, I'm going to do that for you.
I mean, I want to sign up and I want to get my car taken care of at your place. You just have convinced me in a half hour, so simply. And by the way, Bruce was so kind to share with me his loaner car return on investment. Boy, I have to tell you, I got his detail here. He was so forthcoming with information. It doesn't cost.
Right. No, it's an ROI, man. And people look at it, and I, in my old 20 grit, people used to say loaner cars are the crack cocaine of the automotive service world. And I go, you know what? That's not a bad thing. I mean, that's not a bad thing. That differentiates you. And there's a cost to have the car, but look, you can upsell the work. You can get people in for the work they need. If the shop's busy, I can say, here, take my loaner. I'll deal with your problem. It's a great thing. So run properly. A loaner car program is a great return on investment.
Okay, guys, that's number one.
One of the cutting edge things that I've seen, and I wish I was smart enough to say that I've coined this, but I didn't. It was Virginia Auto Service in Phoenix. They have loaner bicycles, and it's great that they got 3 or 4 bicycles out there because they're in an area where, in Central Phoenix that it makes sense. You can ride a bike pretty much all year round. So if a customer is there for a wait or they have a couple hours, hey, take a bike and go grab lunch. I mean, man, just think about you're tapping into childhood memories of riding a bike. It's just those are awesome things that work there too. So
loaner cars, loaner bikes. What else? Let's go. We're doing a customer service clinic.
So 2 things. And I know we touched on this, but washing cars, be very careful. Do not attach the car wash to $1 spent because you make the customer think about, well, you wash my car when I spend $1,000, but you don't wash it when I come in for routine service. So if you're going to wash cars, make a commitment to wash every car, regardless of the service spent. And the customer's expectation on car washes is at least the minimum cleanliness of when I brought the car in. So if it's there for 2 days, you better wash it. The other thing is clean the inside of the windshield, at least clean the glass from the driver's perspective and vacuum. That's a minimum, I believe, is vacuum out the car. If you're going to throw trash away, make sure that they don't have an attachment to the McDonald's wrappers in the back seat. And you don't want to upset people with that. But cleaning the car definitely is going to be towards the top of the list.
Building on the loaner car aspect of it. So we don't have loaner cars for a variety of reasons. One of them is just a lack of space in my facility, right? A densely populated area. Anytime I have people from out of the state that visit, I've got 8 shops in my little complex, and it's like, how can you deal with this competition? Well, there's 2.5 million people, right? Lots of cars. We don't have competition, but consequently, space is tight. But the upside to that is, if generally the farthest away somebody lives from the shop is 6 miles, 8 miles. Now, that may take you a half hour, 45 minutes to get there, depending on the time of day, but it's close, right? So providing, just sending an Uber to pick them up or take them home works great. Our close friend Malin tells me I'm the highest paid shuttle driver in the world because I like to take people home. If they're a half mile away, we're taking my car. I'm dropping you off because I get to do that relationship building and that chatting. And, fortunately, I'm in a position with a really good team in my shop. We have a small shop, but a really good team that, I don't have to be there every minute of every day. I can go schmooze customers and clients and have a great time doing it. Malin tells me not to, Ray tells me not to, but, I do it anyway.
The point of that, from an owner's perspective, Dave, I think that's totally fine. I think if you schedule it out and it's part of your marketing plan, I have no issue with that because I agree with you. You can make better relationships in that time that could grow to 10, 100, 200 people. So as long as it's part of your time blocking and scheduling, man, I give you a high five on that. That's great. Absolutely.
Yeah, a very close friend of the podcast, and I think probably you both know, maybe Bruce doesn't, but Bill Nalu is all over being in the face of the customer. Once he got himself off the counter, I think he tells the story of, I can't believe it, I can't see my customer. So, he's back out there. He wants to hear the stories, just like, you tell, Bruce. And, yeah, okay, so you may be the highest priced listener or schmoozer ever. And when you put your head on the pillow at night, Dave, you realize you just made one hell of an investment in the emotional bank account of this lifelong customer. And that's I've asked in the early days of the podcast. I used to ask this question: your customers, what's the percentage of your customers that walk in and drop the keys on the counter and say, "Fix it"? They have no major expectations except trust and loyalty. And I would ask that question, and then I would hear 20%, and I would say, how do you grow that? That's where we're at. To me, you grow it because you have loaner cars, you have loaner bikes, you consistently wash, you windshield, you vacuum, you use Uber and Lyft, and we're doing our clinic here. So what else?
Now we have to finish it. So one of the things, the back end is this: the car better be done on time, not a minute late, not 2 minutes late. The car's staged, it's back into the parking stall, it's clean, it's ready to go. Your invoice is done. You're not finishing paperwork up at the back end, and there's a token of appreciation gift that goes along with that. So for instance, in Southern California, we can't use chocolate because it'll melt in the car. When I worked at the dealership in all of my shops, we use Tic Tacs. We just, different boxes of Tic Tacs with a card that says, "Thank you so much for your trust." And that goes right in the center console or somewhere. They may not see it right away, but the next day they see it. It's just a small little token of appreciation. I think so many times we get focused on the front end that we forget the customer's going to judge us when they pay our bill at car delivery. And what type of concierge service are we doing at car delivery? What if we had this stage where the customer walked in, the door opened up, confetti went everywhere, balloons came out. We had a pack of people there high-fiving the customer, celebrating your car is going to last another 100,000 miles. You just put another $5,000 into your retirement, and that's going to add value to your life. That's really the essence of what we do. It's not just, oh, yeah, let's finish up your bills at Visa, MasterCard, American Express. We need to treat the car delivery as a celebration, not something that's negative where it's painful. Make it fun. Celebrate with the customers. High fives and hugs all the way around. Have that car ready and finish the job up at car delivery. That's where it's at. That's really what's going to finish. All this work and investment we have up front can be undone at the back if it's not ready.
Very good. Brownies. We send out brownies, and
perfect.
And I when I figured this out, I think it was in June. Over the last 5 years, we've spent $50,000 on sending out brownies. So there's an outside firm we dealt with, and in a week after your car gets serviced, we send a little box of brownies, and it does have confetti in it, ironically enough, and a little card. Thank you for your service. And it's unexpected because it's a week after. People know I didn't have to do it. But we spent a lot of money on brownies, but everybody remembers that when they come in. The next time they come in, they go, "Hey, thank you for the brownies. They were delicious." Or people will call on the phone or an online reviews, and they'll comment on that. And it's not something we have to do. It's something we want to do, right? And we have this other thing too that, and we need to do this a little better. I mean, we're all humans, but we have this thing with the text. We call it the one free thing. So what's the one free thing you're doing on that guy's car? You're coming up to me with the list of everything that you want, but what's the one free thing we can do for that person? So last week I had a customer in with a vintage Volvo wagon. It was red, and they love this car, and they moved from out of state, and they were traveling. They left it with us for a week, and they've done a lot of work on the car. And I said, you know what, let's detail their car for them. So when they come back, that car is thoroughly detailed. The red paint, which was all faded, is all buffed out. And so he came in. Unfortunately, she didn't come in because she had some other issues that kept her. But the guy's like, "I can't believe you detailed my car." And I'm like, "Hey, was that worth the time it cost my detail guy?" Absolutely. That guy will go tell 10 of his friends. But little things, like Jeremy mentioned, is Tic Tac, whether it's brownies, whether it's, detailing the car, whatever. Those things, people remember that. And I heard you use the term, Carm, emotional trust bank account, and then that goes in that trust bank account. Boy, that $50,000 in brownies, that probably is worth $250,000 in repeat business.
Oh,
right?
I bet you, Bruce. Give me another example of one free thing that you would do. I mean, is it something simple?
It might be somebody's door squeaks. It might be a light bulb was out, and we just did it as a courtesy. It might be, we try to find things that are annoyances the customer doesn't necessarily bring up, and then we'll do it. And we often don't mention that until they come to get the car. So we'll say, "Hey, we noticed the driver's door was squeaking," or "We noticed the trunk rattled and we adjusted that," or "We noticed this or that." And people go, "You know what? I always forget about that. Thanks for doing that." So one free thing. And, if you can get into that mindset, it's kind of like the whole value added, value exchange and abundance thing, it just works.
All these things can be incorporated, and the beautiful thing about them is nobody else is doing them, right? So what is it? Identify something in our shop or your shop, that what can you do that's going to differentiate you from everybody else? And those are the kinds of things, right? And it's going to be different for everybody. We're in the same boat with, can't put chocolate in the car because it'll melt. But, one thing that we do consistently and with every customer is, we use the seat covers and the floor mats. But, when we're done with the car, after we've done the hugging and the kissing and thank you and the collecting of the money, either I or my service advisor walk to the car with the person, right? And we walk out and we have that final little chat and grab the seat cover and floor mat, and they see that happen, right? Rather than the tech taking it in, because then they never know it's there. And then of course you got that last chance to give that car that one last look over, shake the hand, customers that want a hug, they get a hug. It's that last little touch that helps them remember these are nice guys, right? That we have a good relationship. Yeah, I just dropped a bunch of money, but I know my car is taken care of. So
we do a thing called clearing the car. And to follow up what you said, Dave, this reminded me. So if we have a big repair, especially the first time customer, it's easy to take their credit card and send them on their way, but I want that customer to go drive in that car. And we'll often send one of the service advisors, say, Mrs. Jones, we had a Volvo we delivered yesterday. And incredible amount of work on the car. The woman had bought the car secondhand and she didn't have it checked out properly, and it just needed a tremendous amount of work. So before we took her credit card, I said, Rick, who's one of the service advisors, said, I'd like to go for a road test with you in this and just make sure everything's to your satisfaction. So we call it clearing the car. So they hopped in, they went for a 10-minute road test, and we gave them an opportunity to talk and chat and kind of bind together and all this. And so she comes back and she was just so happy with the car, and it just builds an additional level of trust that before they're even paying anything, they see you did something, and so that's a process we try to use anytime we have a large repair. Definitely when we have a new customer, we try to do that clear the car thing. And it heads off any problems.
Logically, on this list is a clean facility, the proper waiting room lobby, dusted, clean daily, the right mags. We've heard the stories with flowers. How important is that environment to concierge service?
I think Dave said it best. I mean, that's just a minimal expectation. You can have the best service in the world, but if your shop doesn't look presentable, or there's, I don't mean this in a pejorative way, but I cringe sometimes when I go in other shops and I see, the old tire that's sitting out there, or our used auto parts sitting around for some reason. And I get it, you can become blinded after a while, but people don't want to see that, I don't go to the dentist office and see somebody who's extracted two of their dirty tools sitting around. They don't want to see that stuff. I know that happens. We don't want to see it. But Dave said, I think that's a minimum threshold. We all have to have that minimum threshold. And if we don't have that, the value of valet service, as we call it, or concierge service, it's negated. I think it's negated.
It keeps your team happy too, right? So especially a service advisor at the counter, because that's typically who the customer is going to see first anyway. If it's a nice environment for that person to exist in on a day-to-day basis, they're happier, they're pleasant, they have a better attitude, better feeling. And then, someone that walks in, right? Again, you go to the doctor's office, usually we're not going, ooh, look at that beautiful antique over there. But at the same time, it's a welcoming environment, and it helps everybody exist on a better level. And we can provide that higher level of service because we're smiling, because we're in a comfortable place.
But one of the things I was reading in Bruce's piece that he sent me was that the loaner car, giving the customer the level of convenience to get them on with their life, allows them to do a better QC, quality control. And to me, I guess the ultimate of customer service is if the car goes out properly fixed. Right the first time.
So we have an expression: the customer is not quality control. So every car gets checked minimally twice before the customer sees it. So we have somebody who specifically does that. There's a check sheet on the back of our maintenance CMI, our courtesy maintenance check, the techs fill out. On the flip side of that is our QC process. And so the QC person, and we usually have one person dedicated to it, although we sometimes will have an advisor do it on a big job, goes through on that car from stem to stern. He's not just looking for the obvious things like grease on the door handles, but he's looking to make sure all the fluids are filled. He's looking to make sure that the seats are back where they were, the radios, not on some crazy station and turned up loud. And most importantly, the reason the person brought the car in is resolved. So we road test it twice. The tech does it himself, does an internal confirmation, and then it goes in a QC line. And then we do the QC with our quality control person. And then it gets parked up front for pickup. But then on larger jobs or questionable jobs, we'll take the car home. And we'll say that to the customers, this is the type of job that I can take it to lunch. I'd really like to have one of the advisors take it home. Doesn't cost the customer anything. It's just that for sure way of making sure it's done correctly. And in my area, where your commute to come and see me might be half an hour to an hour or an hour and a half, you don't want those people coming back. You want to make sure they come back only for service, not for repeat of it. So quality control, number one thing.
I think that's huge. I think the service advisor definitely holds that key where each service advisor should have their own QC process. One of the things that we're doing here is, every car we write up, we take a picture of the dash with the car running first, and then it's great to see all those warning lights gone at the back end, and you have that validation. So I'm thinking digital inspections, right? We're always inspecting cars, finding things wrong. Why not use that technology to validate the repairs and show that value that here's the code printout before, here's after, everything's clear, monitors are set. We have confirmation right here. Also, here's a documentation before and after. So that's great. I think you need somebody who's not a technician doing the QC on the vehicle because you want to make sure there's no screwdriver left under the hood. And like you said, fingerprints, those other things as well. Great point. One last thing I would like to say also, what about priority service? We're busy. It's a Friday afternoon. If somebody's enrolled in your VIP program, I had an issue with a tire repair on a Friday afternoon. I made an appointment with the tire store. I got right in. Other people were waiting 3 hours. That made me feel really good as a consumer. So I think priority service is something else we can put on the list, Carm.
Priority service. It's down. Thank you, Jeremy. So guys, the QC thing, I wrote down QC and I wrote down the word comebacks. Bruce, when you really worked hard to implement your QC program, and you improve it over time, it continues to evolve. Did you see the QC go up and the comebacks come down?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's things that happen in cars when you deliver them anyway. Somebody goes down the road and they hit a bump and the headlight fails or something like that, or somebody forgets to put their gas cap back on, and when they get the car back, but it does help, and so it obviously reduces our cost, but more so than the cost of fixing comebacks, it really builds that level of trust with the customer, and that anything I can do that removes that question in their mind about, was this done right the first time? Did these guys use, somebody mentioned earlier, quality parts. People shouldn't even have to be considering that. So anything I can do to remove that doubt or question helps. The QC process does that. So, and it goes into that trust bank account, right? Gee, I've been there 15 times and okay, one time something happened. And so it's just such a positive thing. I can't emphasize that enough.
Did something ever happen when you went to the dentist and you left and then you say, shall I keep going back there? Is he human? Is it me? Was it the repair?
Questions are bad. I mean, questioning is bad. That level of trust, somebody mentioned Amazon earlier, that level of trust, if I order from Amazon today and they say it's going to be here tomorrow, I don't think about it through the whole day, and I don't want my customer thinking about their car repair once we call them to talk to them about what needs to be done.
Isn't that amazing? It's going to be here in 2 days. You don't forget that somehow. I mean, you ordered it because you wanted it, and you say, I really don't need it, but I want to watch them do 2 days. I want to see them jump through the hoops. Did you ever hear that concept called just one thing? And in the last comments that I would love you to make, I'm struggling in my business. I've got good people, but I just can't get my customer service to the right place. And so offer me just one thing, one of these tactical ideas or one strategy that's going to improve my customer service. And we'll start with Dave.
I think the biggest challenge I face in my business right now is the parts supply line. And it's a constant challenge, and getting the right part on time, right? And so we definitely need to improve that process, and also making sure that we try and do as many on-demand services as we can. So it means we have to have the oil filter there. So we make sure we order it ahead of time if we don't have it on the shelf, so we can do on-demand service. So that's my biggest challenge, I think, right now.
So if my parts get here more on time, I'm going to have happier customers.
I can make sure that Jeremy's family gets the date night. Yes.
Oh, my wife's going to love you, man. Excellent. 18 years of marriage. Here I come.
Bruce, how about you? Give me one thing.
I think Jeremy hit it, and I wrote it down personally. We call it corporate culture, but he calls it code of conduct, and I love that. And if you can get a code of conduct that everyone subscribes to, you can change anything in the world in your business, But if people are not on that code of conduct, if they're not on that common cultural language, you won't be able to do anything, nothing lasting. And so having that corporate culture, you can change the world. But not having that code of conduct, you can't fix anything.
If you go to my website, remarkableresults.biz, and you just go to the homepage and scroll down to the tag cloud, and you look for corporate culture, I'll tell you, some of the most successful top 5%ers in the industry, their business is all about the culture. And when you hear them talk impassioned about it, and then you hear them talk about their success and their numbers and their people and their hiring, Bruce, I think the culture needs to be there, because when you take care of your people and the culture is right, they take care of your customer.
Absolutely.
You talk about implementing a new concept and a new idea. No doubt you could take some of these ideas that you're getting from today, and that all of our listeners are going to get from today, and when you got the right culture, it's so easy to implement, and it's so easy to upload. It's so easy to sell.
We often say we have two customers on both sides of the counter. So I've got my internal customers who are the employees, and the external customers who are coming in with their cars. And when both of those cultures align, it's magic. I don't even have to be there, But if there's a disruption in that, you see it on one side, it affects the other. So you're right on point.
Thanks so much, Bruce. One thing, Jeremy, give me one thing to improve my business.
Become the patient. Make every single person within your business become a customer and experience your business the way your customers do. Go in and book an appointment. Was it easy? Was it on demand? Did you have to wait for the service writer to call you back? Come in on a day. Give your guys the day off. Make them come in and be a waiting oil change customer at 8 a.m. and let them go play golf for the rest of the day. But they're going to take notes and provide you very detailed feedback on the service experience that they received. To really drive this culture home, there's two things you could do. Go back and listen to your interview with Kirk Richardson. That dude is a rock star. He inspires me every single day. So go back in the archives and watch that. And then the second one is make everybody become the patient, and then you will find the answers that you need through that.
Excellent.
Thank you. Yeah, Kirk Richardson, culture, off the charts. Wasn't he good?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I wish I had his number off the top of my head, but I don't. Just go to my website, find the search bar button, and hit Kirk Richardson. Well, look at everyone. I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. You come on and give and pay it forward for the industry. We'll see you next week. Thank you, Dave. Thank you, Bruce. Thank you, Jeremy.
Thanks for being on board to listen and learn from the premier automotive aftermarket podcast. Until next time,